heads of state give pointers on the way forward in Nigeria's political journey. Intra-party wrangling distracting some political parties from mustering properly for the off-cycle governorship elections in November. Also on political update today, election tribunal sacked some members of the federal and state legislatures, but affected reps reject verdict. Also from the judiciary, PDP and Labour set to exhaust all legal avenues to prove case. All these and more on our lineup today. I'm Fisayo Gufui. Welcome. Nigeria's 24 years uninterrupted democracy in the Fourth Republic should be sustained to be an example on the African continent. National coordinator of the new Partnership for Africa Development, NEPAD, Gloria Kubundu, gave the verdict. Let's take a highlight from that session.
22, 23.
2023, a year with huge electoral history. INEC declared results, tribunals declaring judgments, and NEPAD presenting its observations with the security agencies. From the peer reviews carried out and with institutional knowledge so far, the Nigerian NEPAD coordinator, Princess Gloria Akomodo, says Nigeria's 24 years democratization journey in the Fourth Republic places the country on a positive exemplary list.
This cycle of election will mark 24 years of unbroken democracy, which is very, very good for our nation. I've never seen any country that military governed and they were able to build their country. It's also the reason why we should please encourage democratic process to enable us realize the Nigeria we all want.
Documents containing joint institutional reports on the 2023 elections from different security agencies give signal that Nigeria electoral journey is on course, but the speed will be faster if
continuous sensitization of voters in terms of telling them the short-term, the medium-term, and the long-term effects of selling their votes.
For us in NYC, it's a thing of joy for us because we did not lose any one of them. Every person returned.
Democracy is a process and not a project, and there is no politics in the policies of INEC. What is missing is more citizens' participation in the process. The participants here admitted.
It is so far so good under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Former military head of state, General Absalami Abubakar, gave the assessment when he played host to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris Malagi, at his country home in Minna.
The minister's first port of call was at the uphill residence of former military head of state, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Engagement was behind closed doors. At the residence of General Abdusalami Abubakar, the minister and his entourage had the opportunity to interact on issues of national interest.
As the government has clocked 100 days, I will say congratulations. So far so good. They came in at a very, very difficult position in that there are so many challenges. Economy, the fuel subsidy, security or insecurity, as you may want to call it. They have all inherited these things. We want changes like a magic wand, which is not possible. So my message to Nigerians, and now they should all put on deck to get out of the situation we found ourselves, both economically, security-wise, and so on. Like I said, the Honorable Minister Malagi has a very difficult task being in charge of information and orientation. And I do hope Nigerians will assist him in reorienting ourselves, because we need reorientation considering the situation we find ourselves.
They want Nigeria to live in peace, and they commend Mr. President for all his efforts in ensuring that there is peace and stability in Nigeria. And you also know that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is always talking about using our diversity for prosperity. And that is the message that the elder statesman also echoed here. Nigeria is a very diverse country, diverse in every respect. And instead of seeing that in a negative form, we should rather use that positively for the progress and development of our dear nation.
The minister assured that engagement with relevant stakeholders across the country will be sustained for national reorientation.
The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room has noted that it is within the rights of the contending political parties to further dispute or accept the judgment issued by the Presidential Election Petition Court on the elections, and will be watching developments regarding further actions by the political parties involved.
The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room believes that as a group with significant years of knowledge and experience on elections, both in the field and in the policy space, it is concerned that the judgment may have raised questions regarding the gains made with the passage of the Electoral Act 2022, particularly reforms that introduced technology in elections and require INEC to issue guidelines for the elections and implement it. Situation Room emphasized that it will continue to monitor closely how litigations around the general elections evolve, especially at the Supreme Court level, and will be pursuing further legislative advocacy that will require INEC to mandatorily implement reforms passed by Nigeria's legislature.
And still talking post-election litigation, spokesperson of the opposition coalition of United Political Parties and PDP member representing Idiato Federal Constituency, Kenga Ugochinyere, says the decision of the Imo State National and State Houses of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal, which unseated him, clearly amounted to upturning and setting aside the judgment of the Supreme Court, which ruled that the internal affairs of the political party are non-justiciable, declaring that a political party cannot challenge the primaries and nominations of candidates of another political party. He was reacting to the tribunal decision at the PDP headquarters in Abuja.
No matter what, I am committed to the strong ideals of democracy, and we will challenge it vigorously at the appeal court.
Well, in recent times, elections seem not to be truly over until the cycle, which include party primaries, campaigns, election, and post-election litigation, are completed. In the past few days, members of the House of Reps and State Assemblies have been told to reapply, and in some cases not to reapply at all. Vincent Otapupu is a lawyer. He joins us today. First, let me ask you, Vincent, what are we... It looks as if the cycle is not complete. You know, politicians go to the podium, advertise their credentials to Nigerians or the would-be voters. Would-be voters then, communicate their interest through their thumb, print it on the ballot papers, and then it's counted and all that. But it doesn't end here. It seems as if the courts are waiting also to, you take the matter to the court before it's complete. Is that the cycle, or should that be the cycle?
It ought not to be. I thank you for having me. I thank you, the viewers. It ought not to be. In the true sense of it, the acceptability of every candidate or aspirant for any elective office ought to be mirrored through the people of Nigeria, or the constituency that the person intends to represent. The people ought to accept the person, and also, cast votes is in favor of the person, accepting the person to represent them. And the wish of the people ought to reflect in the final analysis by way of the result that been declared at the end of every poll. But what you have in Nigeria today is that this contemporary attitude of, declare me the winner, go to court. The loser should go to court. That is what has destroyed our democracy. That's what has destroyed our, internal democracy, And people, there is absence of people, there is this absence of participation of the people in selecting their leaders, people who ought to represent them. You know, when you enjoy the acceptance of the people, when you are when you enjoying, when you have the acceptance of the people, you know, you have every reason to perform in the office.
Let me ask this. You know, you are the ones at the business end of these litigations, lawyers, and your sector is booming, especially around this time. Politicians are told to keep money aside for post-election litigations. Yes, it's good for that sector, but why can't we get it right, Abinisho, from the beginning of the processes? After all, we've had lawyers all through don't you advise your clients in this direction, getting things right, especially from internal party democracy and all that, so that we don't get to push and shove through the courts, and then we go around this circle again anytime we have elections?
You cannot have stop people from approaching court. Section 6, subsection 6B of the Constitution gives the court, said the court has inherent right for the determination of any dispute between persons and other. And if you look at the provisions of the Electoral Act and the Constitution, especially the Section 285 of the Fourth Alteration Act, the amended Constitution, and some other provisions in the Electoral Act that have donated jurisdiction to the court, the tribunal, to adjudicate over disputes arising from post-election disputes, agitations, questions, and activities. So, but it seems to have taken away the choice of the people, because it is now seems to be that it is the court that now determines who is legitimately elected member, for any elective office or not, But that ought to be bestowed on the people. The right to go to court is inalienable. It's always constitutionally guaranteed. But for our nascent democracy, for our rule of law, to promote internal democracy within political parties, sometimes they don't even listen to lawyers. They do whatever they want to do, knowing that they will get away with it. What they will tell you is to go to court, go to court. That's why you see a lot of things happen during a pre-election period, primary election of political parties. You see a lot of thuggery, a lot of money, movement of money from one hand to another hand. You see a lot of actions of bordering on impunity, suppression of rule of law and constitution. You see even people refuse to abide by their own constitution, the political parties. So there are this impunity, there are this acts of rascality, there are this absence of obedience to law. Within the political gladiators and actors in Nigeria. Until we learn to respect our constitution, their constitution is because if you don't respect your constitution, that regulates your activities. Because a political party is a voluntary association. People come together and join. So if you join, you must respect what they do. So how much more respecting the constitution of Nigeria, even judgment of court or Supreme Court? In most cases, you see them violating those sections of the law, provisions of the law. They refuse to abide by the law. They know the law. The law is very clear. The Electoral Act 2022, if you read it back to back, you will see every activities of political parties has been captured. All the things are regulated, but even the Constitution. But they refuse to abide by the provisions of the law. So it's not a question of lawyers. It's not the business. It's not the work of lawyers.
I can still see you smiling though, because this period is a period of boom, naturally. But go ahead, please.
So it's not a question of, it's not the problem of lawyers. It's the problem of the politicians. The lawyers will always advise them. I can tell you how many politicians I used to advise, but sometimes if they call you, you advise them, they call another lawyer, they'll advise them. Sometimes they'll just muddle up everything. In most cases, they don't even seek your opinion. It's after the whole thing has scattered. They will now call a lawyer to go and do magic. In most cases, you go to court, and the court is where you go to. You don't know what will come out. Whatever you see, you get it. Even though when the law is clear, So I believe that politicians should be able to get it right for the growth of our democracy, for the internal party politics to grow, for the health of the political party to survive. For the political party to survive in Nigeria, they need to get it right. They need to be able to abide by the rules of engagement. They need to respect their constitution, respect the provisions of the Electoral Act, and respect the Constitution of Nigeria 1999. Allow the people to freely choose who should represent them. Do not force people on the people, candidates on the people. Especially because all this quagmire, all this political problem and issues will always start during the process of primary elections of the political parties. That's when some of these things normally start.
All right. Before I let you go, you noticed that the petitions in terms of from the state level, the tribunals are on and all that. But of course, many are citing that naturally the pronouncements of the Supreme Court on some of these issues will always perhaps supersede some of those pronouncements we have had. So perhaps there is a ray of hope for some of those who have been told to reapply. In some cases, they have even told not to even bother to reapply.
Yes, I agree with you. Of great concern is that this is the era, the regime where judgment of election petition tribunal across the state are just flying in on daily basis. But of great concern to me is the judgment of election petition national and state assembly election petition tribunal of Imo State, sitting in Nasarawa State here. When you look at purportedly sacking Honorable Imo Ugo Chinyere, when you look at section 134 of the Electoral Act, it says an election shall be questioned on the following grounds. A, that the person whose election is questioned was not qualified at the time of the election. B, that the election is marred with corrupt practices and the non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. C, that the person was not elected by majority of lawful vote cast. The duration of every tribunal is circumscribed and as prescribed under Section 134 of the Electoral Act. And no tribunal, as the case may be, has the power to travel outside this provision of 134 to go and begin to look for course of action and whatever you want to use.
Just like their lordship said in the
yes.
petition.
The judgment of Election Petition Tribunal in Imo State is not founded on any law. It is better. Let us understand it better. I
won't retry the process, though. I will not read, because of course there is always an opportunity, for the member to move forward. But broadly speaking, there are chances also, as these different tribunals continue to see, there's an opportunity for redress.
Yes, I understand. But I was just trying to
go ahead.
I was just trying to make a point that the judgment of the Imo State Election Tribunal sacking Ugo Chinyere lacks the support of the law. In law, Section 84, subsection 14 of the Electoral Act says, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this Electoral Act, an aspirant who feels that any provisions of the Electoral Act has been violated should approach the court for redress, Federal High Court for redress. That constitute a pre-election dispute. Now, aspirant means somebody who physically participated in the primary election of a political party. In this context, one of the grounds of the petition that was filed giving rise to this judgment that is lacks legal support, is that Ugo Chinyere primary election that was held on the 25th of May 2022 was held outside the Idato North and South Federal Constituency, but at the Aladema Hall in Owerri. Now, the tribunal accepted these grounds of objection, which is, I believe, is in law for all purposes and ramification, is incompetent, because this constitutes a pre-election dispute that ought to be handled by the Federal High Court. Supreme Court have handled some of this situation, but I have still wonder why the tribunal refused to refused to follow the Supreme Court judgment in litany of cases, Onoha and Okafo, in Dahatu and Turaki, in Ado and then Yoka, even PDP and Silva. Supreme Court held that
Council, let's because we're particularizing now, but I would perhaps revisit. Let me just take a little bit, two more stories before we close shop on this. You seem to have a lot of information on that as well, but let's take this. Support groups within the ruling All Progressive Congress have urged Nigerians to support the Tinubu administration to succeed. The groups shared their thoughts in the aftermath of last week's presidential election petition court verdict.
The Nigerian judiciary had proved itself to be the guardians for justice and fairness against the sirens of deception.
The Confederation of APC support groups is for the first time reacting to the outcome of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The Director General adjudged the judgment as reaffirmation of the will of the masses, calling on the opposition to accept it in good faith and join hands with the renewed hope agenda of taking Nigeria to greater heights.
Nigeria has set a record. It was taken one by one, all the petitions one by one. It took about over 13 hours. I think we have to give kudos to those 5 justices.
While assessing steps taken in the aftermath of subsidy removal, Khalani Mohammed urged Nigerians to be hopeful. He says their groups are aware of the ongoing rehabilitation work at the refineries and they will soon bounce back to life.
We want local government monies to be released directly to the local government because they are closer to the people, so that they will bring in civilian JTFs, equipment, train them so that they can work in collaboration with our security agencies to bring peace and tranquility in our nation.
He urged state governors to ensure judicious implementation of the 8-point agenda of APC in bringing peace and prosperity to Nigeria and for Nigerians.
And just before we go, the Northeast governors have resolved to decisively deal with any traditional ruler or community leader found to be harboring or conniving with criminal elements in their domain. This formed part of the 10-point communique issued at the end of the 8th Northeast Governors Forum, a meeting held in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. That was declared open by Vice President Kashim Shettima.
The 8th meeting of the Northeast Governors Forum had in attendance governors of Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, and Yobe states, with the governors of Gombe and Taraba represented by their deputies. The forum expressed delight at the growing strength of cooperation, collaboration, and cordial relationship between the governors of the 6 states of the region. The 10-point communique issued by the forum after exhaustive deliberations, as read by the Adamawa State Governor Ahmadu Umaru Pintiri, among other things, appreciated Vice President Kashim Shettima for gracing the opening ceremony of the 8th meeting of the Northeast Governors Forum, and the government and people of Borno for hosting the event.
While acknowledging the relative success recorded against the insurgency, a new dimension of growing banditry is added to worsen the security situation in the sub-region. As a result of the concerted efforts of the military to flush bandits from other parts of the country, the bandits are now moving towards the northeast.
The forum calls on the federal government to urgently intervene to address this issue. The forum noted with dismay that some traditional rulers and other local authorities are conniving with the bandits, giving them shelter and cover to commit crimes within the sub-region, and resolved to deal with them.
The forum noted with great concern the climatic change and environmental degradation is a major issue affecting the sub-region. The issue of flooding that had affected the states, leading to destruction of properties and loss of livelihoods.
The forum agreed that all the states within the sub-region are to domesticate the Education Law 2022 as recommended by the Northeast Education Council, it earlier constituted.
Includes political updates. We've tried to look at the cycle of elections ending in the courts, and of course we'll have an eye on the off-cycle elections in November, bringing in the gladiators for the different races to government houses of Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. My name is Fisayo Gunfe, thanking you for being a part of today's program, and urging you to be a part of it. But between now and Friday, when we have the next episode, please play your politics for the greater good. Bye-bye now.